We've spent a lot of time talking about Sasha Vezenkov. We spoke about him earlier this week. He suffered an injury today. It's an apparent right knee injury. He suffered the setback in Game 2 in the series that Olympiacos is in the middle of now. Vezenkov was visibly in pain. He received assistance to the locker room. He was carried off of the floor. The EuroLeague MVP left the arena before the end of the game to have an MRI, which will determine the extent of the injury. Now, I don't want to be too panicked just yet because we've seen guys hurt their knee, get carried off, and you think, oh no, you think the worst, and then you find out it's a hyperextension, it's an MCL. So I don't think we go too far with this. But this is obviously big news. We've covered Vezenkov a ton. The Kings have sent a number of people from their front office. They've sent a contingent of people across the way to see Vezenkov play. And there's been a lot of thought that Vezenkov could be one of the bigger targets of the Kings this offseason and fill a hole at least off the bench, maybe even fill a hole of Harrison Barnes. And now, Rami, we get news from the game he played today that he suffered an apparent leg injury. And by the way, thanks to Deuce Mason, who found this story at basketnews.com. I saw him tweet it out, which alerted me to it. But now we have Vezenkov apparently suffering a knee injury and being carried off of the floor. And it sounds like he was immediately taken to a hospital to get an MRI on that knee.
And yeah, Nick, you're right. This if this is serious, if this is something that would keep him out long term, this definitely could change the Kings offseason plans. They didn't send Mike Brown and Monty McNair and everybody else that they sent over there to watch this guy play and to talk to him because they weren't interested. I get the sense that he was plan A. You know what I mean? In terms of offseason acquisitions and major pieces that they planned on adding to the roster this year. And I'm sure as good organizations do, there's a plan B, C, and D, and maybe a few more. So it's not the end all be all. First of all, we don't even know what the injury is,
right,
how serious the injury is, but should it be something that keeps him out long term, it's not the end all be all. And I hate to be really cold about it, but just from the business of basketball standpoint, the timing of this is fortunate because it's not like this happened middle of the off season and you already had him signed and the free agent market had dried up. You know what I mean? Whatever plan B, C, and D is, it's still out there and it's still an option and it hasn't been nixed by other teams snatching guys up off the market. So you hope for the best. Can I ask a question though? Why is he still playing? European sports make no sense to me. Like we talk about rest and downtime and load management. Is it just me or does European soccer and European basketball just never end? They just played the EuroLeague championship 2 weeks ago. Now it's the Greek League finals. How many leagues is this team and Sasha Vezenkov in? And when exactly is the offseason, man?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand why he's still playing basketball.
We have to update that bottom ticker. Let's make sure it's a knee injury, not an ankle injury. We also misspelled receive. So.
Well, the tweet that I saw said ankle, but then when you open the article, it says knee.
Yeah.
I made the same mistake you did, Rami.
Yeah.
It's an apparent right knee injury. So, we'll keep an eye on this. Again, look, we don't know the extent of the injury. Right.
Let's panic anyways, though.
We don't know. You want to run around the room, just go look crazy, say, we don't know the extent, but here's what I'll say. Look, out of precaution or whatever, you've got to take this pretty seriously because he was carried off the floor and he immediately went to a hospital for an MRI. I will also say that, when somebody, and I'm not saying this is what happened to him, okay? I'm not saying this is the injury. Not saying he tore his ACL, but when you tear your ACL, you can get that diagnosed pretty much on the spot. So they would already know if he had an ACL tear. The reason why it wouldn't be out there just yet is that they would be getting that MRI done to confirm the initial diagnosis on the spot because they can check the knee and they know pretty much right away this is an ACL. So we'll see what the injury is. But Sasha Vezenkov suffers an apparent knee injury to his right knee, carried off the floor during his Olympiacos game a little while ago, taken to a hospital for an MRI. Couple of other things. You mentioned
Did you see
Rami.
the video of him being carried off?
I did.
He is actually carried.
Yeah,
off.
they carried him down through the tunnel.
Yeah, there's no weight bearing.
Here's what I will say. I agree with you as far as the timing goes. Look, absolutely nobody wants anyone to get injured.
Yeah, I hate to be that dude,
but if you're going to get injured, it is certainly better to get injured right now because, as you mentioned, the Kings can now pivot to whatever plan B was or plan C.
Mm-hmm.
So now, they might want to, example, they have a free agent on their mind that they might be willing to pay $7 million. Well, now with this injury to Vezenkov, they might be more in line to offer that player more money and, win that negotiation against other teams and maybe pay a little bit more than they should. But now that they know Vezenkov might be, really hurting and they'll have an idea within the next few days.
Yeah.
They can pivot and pay maybe a little bit more money for somebody to replace that piece that they thought Vezenkov was going to be.
Right. Again, honestly, for him, the timing is also fortunate. If he wants to play in the NBA, and depending on the severity of the injury, better happen now, and you have that much time to recover and go through whatever rehab. Hopefully, not much that he's going to have to go through. There is a silver lining in the timing of this. While you wish it never happened, there is a silver lining in the timing of this happening now. And
we'll see if this is a situation again of whether or not it's an MCL or something else. Again, it could be a knee hyperextension, but here's what I would say. I don't think they would rush him to go get an MRI if they thought it was just a hyperextension. Now, maybe. Again, they could be extremely cautious and wrap him in bubble wrap and get him to the hospital and say, let's just run all the tests we can run. So, again, we don't have an idea as far as what the specific injury is. We can just tell you. We can just tell you that he was carried off the floor. He's getting an MRI to the right knee. Looked like it could be serious. I know some people are already kind of reacting to this. Dwayne Baker said if it's an ACL, then bad news for Sasha. Not necessarily bad news for the Kings. There are younger guys that they can plug into that slot. Well, let's not get it twisted. They want Vezenkov.
Yeah. Like I said, they're not going through all the machinations that they've gone through since the season has ended to not try and bring this guy over here. I like I said, it's not the only plan, but I'm pretty sure he's plan A.
Yeah, there's, you're not investing the time and investing the resources that they have invested to recruit this guy for all intents and purposes, unless you really, really want him. And we heard Mike Brown talk about him when he went to go see him play several weeks ago, talking about how he's a perfect fit and, really waxing poetic about the young man. So Mike Brown certainly sounded like he wanted Sasha Vezenkov here in Sacramento. Tim E making it sound like we're freaking out here. I don't know what show Tim E's listening to, but he said, ain't nothing until more is known about Sasha.
All possibilities.
The way forward is never. No hand wringing until you know. Give the boys a chill pill. I don't know what show you're listening to. We're not panicking. We're not freaking out.
You can't even see my hands to know I'm wringing them.
We're telling you what we know. Would you like us to ignore the fact that Sasha Vezenkov injured his right knee, got carried off the floor, and is now having an MRI? Would you like us to ignore that story as if nothing happened until we get news of whatever the injury is? That's not how the world works. So I don't think we're going crazy here. We're letting you know what happened to Sasha Vezenkov. And, if any new updates pop up, if anything more significant shows up, we will certainly give you that information as well. But
then
your
we
thoughts?
Will panic. Then you'll hear panic.
Yeah, like
through your speakers.
If it ends up being a pretty bad injury, then yes, I think you've got to start thinking about those contingency plans.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on this injury? Sasha Vezenkov carried off the floor in his latest Olympiacos game earlier today. It's a right knee injury. He's been taken to a hospital, and he is receiving an MRI. I don't know if we'll have any word by the end of today what the injury is, but that's the latest. Your thoughts on that? 916-339-1140 is the text line. The phone number is 1-800-920-1140. Also, don't forget, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. Give us that thumbs up. Cattles and Rami giving you the breaking news. Give us the like for that. More likes, more eyeballs means an awful lot to us. All right, we'll get to your reaction about Vezenkov's injury. Also, 2 NBA questions at the heart of this week's What If I Told You coming up next.